Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The SNP keep on about how little money they've got, how they've got to keep making cuts, how they're forced into raising taxes. But what they don't tell you is their own waste. £51 million has been spent on taxpayer cash paying for temporary workers rather than employing full-time ones, which would be cheaper. Temporary workers cost a lot more. You have a lot more expense on them. This is public money being wasted simply because if they don't have them on the books, they can claim that their wage bill is low and shift that expenditure on temporary staff elsewhere. It's an exercise in trying to con people, trying to spin their way to show that they're not wasting money. But in actual fact, they're wasting more money than actually employing them. Funny, isn't it? They give with one hand and then they take with every other hand. They are a bunch of lying, spinning, two-faced hypocrites who are quite happy to waste millions trying to fool you. Money that could be spent elsewhere far better. Let's take a look to see why these people speak with forked tongue. So, SNP government forks out £51 million of taxpayer cash on higher paid temporary workers. Shona Robertson has spoken about cutting the number of public sector staff, with the taxpayer forking out huge sums on contingency workers. And of course, when the contingency workers are put on there and they're paying them, they don't put them down as staff costs. They put them down as, material or this or that or the other. All the other stuff, the fluffery and puffery that they try to hide these numbers in by showing you then, oh, but look, we've cut staff. But you haven't cut staff. It's lies. It has to be lies because the truth is too appalling. Scotland's SNP-run government spent a whopping £51 million on temporary workers last year. Single year. That's a figure that's almost doubled since the pandemic. And this is despite a fall in short-term staff since it peaked in the first 3 months of 2022 when over 2,000 were used. And according to the figures published by the Scottish Government, there were 1,429 people filling roles on an interim basis in the 3 months up to September last year. And during the 9 months of the current financial year, up until the end of December, the National Executive had already spent another £37.3 million. So that's going to be up towards another £50 million. So in 2 years, £100 million spent on temporary staff when they could have employed full-time staff for, let's say, 75% of the cost. And that would have been an extra £25 million saved that could have gone in to, say, the NHS or education or social services or wherever. Certainly better spent on that than on temporary staff. But of course, if they actually hire these staff, it looks like the staff bill goes up, and oh look, we're not cutting our numbers, blah blah blah. But it would at least be more honest, and money would have been saved. But these people cannot do that. They cannot tell the truth at any point. They have to lie at all times, and if lying means basically wasting millions upon millions of pounds in order to look more efficient than they ever could be, then so be it. After all, it's only your children that are going to suffer, not theirs. It means Humza Yousaf's administration is on course to spend £49.7 million on temporary staff this year, after the 53 last year. So, £100 million in 2 years, eh? Stopgap workers filling in roles are often paid at a higher rate than permanent employees, increasing the bill to the taxpayer. Plus, of course, there's VAT added on top. Because the agencies charge VAT, they have to charge VAT, and that money, of course, doesn't go to the Scottish Government, it goes to Westminster. The Scottish Conservatives described the figures as sustained and substantial rise in both the number of contingency workers and their cost. Finance spokeswoman Liz Smith added, while the SNP government is imposing savage cuts and additional taxes, the constraints they are piling onto struggling businesses and households seem not to apply to them. There she is, look, a woman well over her abilities, promoted beyond all reality, a woman who has no idea at all what the hell she's doing. Literally none. She doesn't have a clue. It comes with public finances facing severe strain after 17 years now of SNP government. Shona Robertson, who blames the UK government for the situation. Oh yes, it's the UK government forcing you into hiring temporary staff rather than real staff. Yes, I'm sure. She wants to hike taxes for households in an attempt to plug gaps and has warned that the number of public sector staff will need to be cut going forward. Well, you can cut them and then say, oh, look, we've cut the public sector staff, and then hide all the temporary staff elsewhere so it looks as though that's what you're doing. But you're still pissing money down the pan. The issue is particularly acute within the NHS, where the use of agency workers is widespread. My mother used to be a nurse, said this before, and she used to do bank, and she would earn twice as much doing bank as earning on her normal rate of a job. Double. And so she'd go, yeah, I'll do bank, boom, boom, boom. Especially on the run-up to Christmas and things. Banked every night. She was working billio because the money was so good on bank. Double your salary. Why not? Anyway, the Scottish Government pointed to a 27% reduction in contingency workers between March 22 and September 23. Oh, yes, look, we've cut the numbers. Aren't we great? Are we paying them more? Yes. Is it costing us even more money? Yes. A spokesman added, we're determined to maintain and improve our public services despite the most challenging financial situation since devolution. Ministers are working in partnership, she said, with trade unions across the public sector on a 10-year programme of reform. You've had 17 and you need another 10? Seriously? You want us to buy the shit you're selling? You've had 17 years to get it right and now you're saying, oh, we've got this 10-year plan. My God. Stalin only took 5-year plans and he was efficient. These people deserve nothing less than to be fired and forced to live in the same world as everyone else. But for her, it'd be the end of her career. Who the hell is ever going to employ her in anything other than a role? They'll take one look at her and go, no. They'll take one look at her CV and go, ha ha, show her the door. She will never work again outside of politics because she's too damn stupid. It's very, very harsh, but it's true. The woman has an IQ of a banana and is literally out of her depth, but then should be out of her depth presented with a door. She wouldn't know how to operate that. Unbelievable, isn't it? And these are the people leading. How bad are they? And then in the background, look at those two. God, smug gittery signed up in bad suits, isn't it? Surprised he's actually there and not on an airplane somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to round up and come up, but it just annoys the hell out of me about the constant lying. Look at what we're doing, look what we're doing, look what we're doing. Do you know that book? That's not notes for the meeting or anything. That's her little notes for her to say, remember, use your purple. Don't use your purple one. You'll eat it. But use your colouring book. That's all that is. A bloody colouring book. There's no notes in there of any importance. She'd not understand them. She's illiterate, stupid. Sounds like I'm having a go at her, but it's true. It's literally true. You ask her a fiscal question that she's not been prepped on by her staff, and you see it. There's nothing there. Coming up. She was once on a show. I don't know if it was Emily Maitlis or some such. And the questioner, the interviewer, asked her, said, in an independent Scotland, said, what would be your policy on M1 money supply? And this woman looked at the interviewer and she was blinking. And it was like... And you could tell she had no idea what the answer would be. She had no idea what M1 money supply was. She's the woman running the finances of Scotland. She's the one tasked of saying, well, if Scotland became independent and I was in charge of the money supply, this is what I would do. And she did not have a clue what the M1 money supply is. Now, I'm not saying everyone here does. It's one of those sort of very arcane things. It literally means the amount of physical notes, coins, availability on deposit, amount you've got on travellers' checks, things like that. It's the physical cash. It's your liquid assets. Now, I wouldn't expect everyone to know that. It's not their field, not your field, not really my field. But it's her field. And she looked and she didn't know. And she said, well, it's something we'd look at the time. And the interview was like, you can't look at it at the time. You must know before you go into it what this is. Without that, you've got no hope. And she was like floundering. Blah, 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 blah. You hadn't got a clue. And this is a woman put in that position. She doesn't even know what M1 money supply is. And she is effectively the Chancellor of the Exchequer of Scotland. And I say she's stupid, and people say, well, you shouldn't say she's stupid. I go, yes, she's stupid. Anyway, I'm going to round up and just finish there because, honestly, it's like hitting your head against a brick wall with this woman. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And remember, Shona Robinson is not as bright as you think she is. Bye.